So as we conduct our lives connected with Adonai, we come to understand how to use the things that He is training us in. Can at times have not much to do with this worldly life, because it's difficult to have conversation with people in this sense, when the conversations you and Adonai have, it's meant for only you and Adonai. And so it can make it difficult to share with people the things God shares with you in the context that only the two of you understand. And so when there's no breakdown for people, must only mean it is not yet ready to be revealed to people in a way that can be shared simply. Yet Jesus sometimes spoke in parables and unique teaching methods, though it didn't relate to anybody. It did relate to anybody, but the ways that he was speaking were dealing with the future and what's to come. And so his eyes were focused on the kingdom come, that will be done, that God's will be done. That was his main mission. And so for people to hear that, like the disciples, it makes it hard for them to catch anything that Jesus has said, especially when he's talking about my kingdom is not of this world, and that we must be born again. And so the concept of having to go back into a womb is kind of crazy when you're a grown person. And so we must learn and understand the concepts of being reborn into something new, something different from which we lived before. Because surely that old way, old nature has not any service to us anymore, because we are choosing to do something different. And so that portion of your life can be influenced in this earthly space. But that still doesn't always necessarily mean that what you are trained in has anything to do with this earthly life. It just exposes the impact it has, and will have, though it is not ready to be revealed. And so it can take a lifetime of learning. So I take less context when it comes to God speaking to us as him being so angry, but in a teaching manner. Because sure, Moses in his insecurities has not caught up to what God is telling him to do when it comes to speaking. Because at that time he stuttered pretty badly. But as he grew confident, not that he was less confident that he couldn't do the job, but that the weakness that Moses had seemed like a burden and not very useful or impactful. And so we do that when we don't transition our being with the things that God is saying. And so that manner of communication of the human nature, I mean, truly God knows what he created, so I don't know if that is him being angry in the sense of absolute wrath, like, how could you? It's more like an anger of him, like when you know something and yet they're processing and trying to understand what's being said, can create a sense of anger because the communication is being processed. And so we must both work together too in the relationship. And so that's how it was with Moses and Adonai. So even though Moses made his requests, God answered them in a way that was compromising on both sides, and yet still done the work. Until you see later, as Moses grew more confident by the time they got to the wilderness, he was speaking more boldly and less stutter as he continued to work on his speech. So I'm sure that anger from God, really influenced Moses in his ability to speak. So in a way, the anger wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It taught him to speak. So by the time he came down from the mountain, he was throwing the tablets at people. So by that time, he was speaking quite clearly. So the anger came through him, even though it was Moses himself and not necessarily God's anger. So in that sense, they made a connection in that way. That yes, Moses got that for sure. And so from a young age, you may experience different intervals of training in your life. And so we can maybe go back through the story of Moses and see if there's, from the moment he was born, he went from a basket to a thicket, to a bush, a burning bush. So you can see a stepping stone of transition from basket to bush, and how those methods continued to train him and got him out of the thicket. So in a way, in a physical sense, he was a ram in a thicket because he was placed in a basket and sent away for protection so that he could live.